Hey everyone, how's it going? Forrest here, again with another installment of my complete analysis of all 389 Bach chorale harmonizations. Today we're looking at Strach mich nicht in deinem Zorn, which translates to not in anger, mighty God. This is a pretty interesting chorale, has a really interesting modulation structure, especially near the beginning of the second system. But all in all, it is a pretty straightforward chorale to analyze, has some interesting uses of 6/4 chords in it that we're going to look at, and we should just dive right into the analysis. So 3 flats in the key signature, we start on E flat, we end on E flat. I reckon we're in the key of E flat major. Like I said, we start off on a 1 chord, we have a passing tone, and then we have C, C, E flat, and A flat. That is an A flat major triad in first inversion, so that would be 4/6. And here's the first instance of the interesting 6/4 chords. Right here we get this 8th note figure where the chord turns from a 6 chord into a 6/4 chord, and it skips up, which is kind of interesting because up until this point I've been like 6/4 chords are occurring in ways that you would see them in the textbook, but this skipping up, really I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that Bach was composing the way that he wanted to, but this 6/4 chord really isn't explained via the 3 types of 6/4s that you would find, the passing 6/4, the pedal 6/4, and the cadential 6/4, so it's interesting to see it in this context. Then we have D, F, F, and B flat. That is a B flat major triad over D, so a 5/6 chord, passing 7th in the bass, passing tone in the alto. Then we have B flat, G, D, and B flat. That is a G minor triad over B flat, so that would be 3/6. And again with this motive where the chord turns into 6/4, because we now have the D in the bass, which is interesting. We're going to see this used throughout, so Bach was cognizant of this motive, it just so happened that it inverted the chord twice. Then we have C, G, E flat, and E flat. That's a root position 6 chord, 3 wants to go to 6. And then we have a passing tone in the bass. A flat, C, E flat, F. That's an F minor 7 in first inversion, so that would be 2/6/5 in the key of E flat major. Then we have some non-chord tones on this beat, and because this is an imperfect authentic cadence, right, we're cadencing on the tonic here, but the tonic is not in the soprano. We have a passing 5 chord here because we have B flat, D, and F, so they both share that F. Something Bach does 2/6/5 to 5 a lot, so we've seen. Alright, moving on to the next cadence. We have a perfect authentic cadence. Imperfect authentic cadence followed by perfect authentic cadence is a very common grammatical structure. It sets like an incomplete idea and completes it with the more succinct cadence. We have an A flat major triad here, A flat, E flat, and C. That is a root position 4 chord, passing 7th in the bass, F, A flat, F, and D. That is a D diminished triad over F, so 7/6, 4 going where it usually does, and again where the chord gets turned into a 6/4 chord as it leaps up and the bass changes. This is not a non-chord tone, it actually changes the spelling of the chord. Then we have G, B flat, E flat, and E flat. That's E flat major in first inversion, so 1/6. Then we have passing tone in the bass, neighboring 7th in the alto. Then we have E flat, B flat, E flat, and G. Another E flat major triad, but it just inverts. And then we go back to a 6 chord here, so very similar where the chord is just inverting on the and of the beat, on 2 and 4 and. And then we get A flat, C, E flat, and F again, another F minor 7 in first inversion. And then when we get the F here, it turns into root position, so we'll change the figured bass to reflect that. That would turn 6-5 into 7-5-3. Then we have B flat, D, and F. That's a root position 5 chord, passing 7th in the tenor this time, and then we cadence on 1. Very cool so far. Let's take a look at the next phrase. It's not so long after. We have actually a very classical structure. A 4-bar A section with two 2-bar phrases, a 1-bar phrase, a 1-bar phrase, two 2-bar phrases to round out the B section. It's very, it's not a very Baroque form, I would say, because Baroque forms are used to, we're used to seeing oblong shapes, like phrases that don't have similar lengths. It's not like unprecedented or anything, but I'm used to seeing chorales that don't have even structures. So here we get another imperfect authentic cadence, and the way I know that is because we're cadencing on E flat and we're still in the key of E flat, but the tonic is not in the soprano. So we start here with a B flat major triad over D, B flat, F, and B flat. So that would be a 5 chord, a 5-6 more specifically. Some passing tones on the alto and the bass. We then have B flat, D, and F. That's just a 5 chord, so we're just going to change the figured bass to reflect root position. And then it kind of goes to 6 here. On this beat, these are both chord tones, so the spelling of the chord just changes, no non-chord tones present. And then we get a 1 chord, imperfect authentic cadence. And then in the next system, this is where it gets super interesting, because we get a cadence on F major, and I was tempted to say, hey, we modulated to the key of F major. That's kind of a distant key because it's 2 notches away on the circle of fifths. But if you look even further ahead, we have a perfect authentic cadence in the key of B flat. So how do we justify this F? Well, I think this F actually is a half cadence in the key of B flat. It's a really beautiful moment, and I think it's really interesting. It's almost like I'm expecting an F minor cadence here, and it's like the effect it has on me is like, instead of cadencing on F minor, we cadence on F major because of the Picardy third, but really how I'm analyzing it is a half cadence because of what we get after the fact. And this modulation sounds immediate because E natural gets introduced on the next beat. There really isn't a lot of time for the modulation to blend together. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark it as a direct modulation to B flat. And then we get E, G, C, and C. That is 5, 6 of 5, as C major is the dominant of F, and F is the 5 of B flat. Passing tone in the bass, passing tone in the tenor. Then we have C, E, C, and B flat. So this turns into 7-5-3 on this beat, and then we kind of get the same thing that happens here. They mirror one another, the two single measure phrases, where we get E, G, C, and B flat. We get like 6-5 here, which is interesting because we go from 5-3 to 6. Here we go from 7-5-3 to 6-5. So they're mirroring one another in terms of how they're functioning harmonically. Really cool stuff. And then we cadence on 5. Alright, now moving ahead to the B flat section. 5 immediately goes to D, B flat, F, and B flat, which is a B flat triad in first inversion, which is where we would expect 5 to go. Not specifically first inversion per se, but we would expect it to go to 1. Then we have passing tones in the lower voices. And then we have B flat, D, F, and F, again with this idea of having consecutive harmonies that are reinverted on the next beat. And then again we have a leap up here, which doesn't change the chord's number, it just changes the figured bass. Then we have E flat, D, F, and G. That's just a cluster, D, E flat, F, and G. That's just a fragment of the scale. So what's going on here? Well, I think this E flat and this D are both accented non-chord tones, and Might as well just say this G as well, and we're looking to the next beat, so F, A, E flat, and F, C, E flat, and A, which would be a 5-7 chord in root position. I think that's a more logical way to analyze it as opposed to like seeing a cluster. It's kind of before Bach's time, at least playing so with intention. Seconds and sevenths arise from suspensions and counterpoint, but I wouldn't expect them to occur, downbeat present. That'd be a really interesting piece to analyze if we could see that, and there's really no way to refute otherwise. But yeah, I think if this is a 5-7 chord, then we have G, B flat, D, and B flat. That is a G minor chord. So we have a little deceptive progression here. That's a 6 chord in root position. And we have some passing tones in the lower voices. And then we have E flat, G, C, and B flat. That is again another minor 7 chord in first inversion. So C minor 7 first inversion, so 2-6-5, which turns into 7-5-3 on this beat. And then we have F, F, C, and A. And then we get a 5 chord on this beat right here, and we will cadence, perfect authentic cadence on B flat, like I wrote up here already to justify the half cadence going on here. Then we move on. Towards the end of the piece, we get a perfect authentic cadence in the key of E flat major. And notice how, I've been talking about how it's difficult sometimes to tell when Bach is half cadencing on the dominant or if he's modulated. Here's an example of him clearly modulating to the key of the dominant, and there's no confusion. It's a clear modulation. It didn't sound like a half cadence at all. It had been set up prior, like with a lot of space given to it, whereas some of the half cadences have the elements of a modulation because they contain their leading tone, but it just doesn't feel like a modulation, so it's missing something. So moving ahead, we have kind of a direct modulation again. It doesn't feel like we've transitioned into E flat. It feels like we just are in E flat. And why is that? F, A, F, and C, or A flat rather. So this is just a 2 chord. I think that's because we don't have the A natural. It immediately just goes to A flat, and that's why it sounds that way. So this is just a root position 2 chord with a passing tone in the bass. And then we have A flat, B flat, F, and D. An interesting chord here. This is a B flat 7 over A flat, so that'd be a 5-4-2. And again with this motive, but he flips it upside down, so 5-4-2 turns into 5-4-3, because now it's in second inversion as opposed to third inversion, which is really cool. He sort of takes the motive he sees earlier and flips it upside down in anticipation for the final cadence. Really cool stuff. G, B flat, E flat, E flat. That is E flat major in first inversion, so 1-6. Then we have a passing tone in the bass. We have G, B flat, E flat, and G. B flat, B flat, E flat, and G. That is a 1-6-4 chord that turns into a 6 chord on this beat. Very interesting how this 6-4 chord comes into play here. Again, it's the end of a phrase. It's not a passing tone. It's not a pedal tone. It's not part of a cadence. But here we are, a 6-4 chord on a strong beat. Granted, I feel like it's part of a greater phrase, so it is justified. But again, this is the first time Bach really isn't playing by the rules when it comes to 6-4 chords, kind of overall. Alright, so getting ready for the final measure, we have another 2-6-5 chord here. A flat, C, E flat, and F. 2-6-5. That turns to 7-5-3 on the next and. Then we get B flat, D, and F. It's a 5 chord. Passing 7th in the bass. Perfect authentic cadence. all in all, really interesting chorale. I think the motive that stayed consistent throughout was very clear and easy to see. I feel like there are these like micro motives and imitations that don't get picked up in my analysis, because I really challenge myself to get as much as I can with like 1 or 2 quick listens, and then do like a brief harmonic analysis of the chorale and pick up what I can here. But here we have a motive that is very evident and very clear from first and second listen, and I pick it up in the analysis, and it's something that's consistent throughout the entire chorale. So that's really fascinating. A quaint little chorale. I like it. We don't see E flat all too often. We've seen a couple recently, but not as common as like A minor or G major. So when we see three flats on the key signature, it's exciting. So anywho, that is my analysis for today. I hope you enjoyed. I am looking forward to tomorrow's analysis as well. And thanks so much for supporting the channel. Take care.